Hey everybody, mini concert number 21. Got a couple of birthdays to talk about tonight. The first one is Genevieve Jackson. Hit the big 1-5 tomorrow.
Genevieve Kopp.
I'm sorry, Cop. Jackson family close. Sorry about that. The big 1-5 tomorrow. Also wanted to point out to you that she's got an album out, guitar music and piano instrumental. It's marvelous. So if you know Genevieve, give her a buzz and take a listen to it on SoundCloud. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Genevieve. Happy birthday to you. So I'll talk about the other birthday a little bit later because it's less important. So there's a Celtic belief that when you die in a foreign land, your spirit travels the low road back to your native country. In 1745, two Scottish soldiers fighting for Bonnie Prince Charlie were captured in Carlisle. One was to be released, the other was sentenced to be hanged. So this song is from the point of view of the condemned man. By yon bonny banks and by yon bonny braes, where the sun shines bright on Loch Lomond, where me and my true love forever want to gaze, on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Oh, you take the high road and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland afore ye, where me and my true love will never meet again, on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Was there that we parted in yon shady glen, in the steep, steep slopes of Ben Lomond, and in purple hue the healing hills we view, and the moon coming out in the gloaming. Oh, you take the high road and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland afore ye, where me and my true love will never meet again, by the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Well, the wee birdies sing and the wildflowers spring, and in sunshine the waters are sleeping, but the broken-hearted ken a second spring again, though the weevil may cease from their greeting. Oh, you take the high road and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland afore ye, where me and my true love will never meet again, on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond, on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Well, that's Loch Lomond. Next song is It's called a shanty. It's a working song developed by sailors for help in doing rhythmic, difficult jobs. This is probably one of the most popular of the shanties. A couple of other ones that I can think of, at least one of the other ones I can think of, is Barrett's Privateers. It was written by Stan Rogers. Anyway, this is called The Drunken Sailor. What shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? Put him in a longboat till he's sober. Put him in a longboat till he's sober. Put him in a longboat till he's sober early in the morning. To me hooray, and up she rises. Hooray, and up she rises. Hooray, and up she rises early in the morning. Put him in the scuppers with a hose pipe on him. Put him in the scuppers with a hose pipe on him. Put him in the scuppers with a hose pipe on him early in the morning. Shave his belly with a rusty razor. Shave his belly with a rusty razor. Shave his belly with a rusty razor early in the morning. Do me hooray, do me hooray, do me hooray, up she rises early in the morning. Put him into bed with the captain's daughter. Put him into bed with the captain's daughter. Put him into bed with the captain's daughter early in the morning. That's what we do with a drunken sailor. That's what we do with a drunken sailor. That's what we do with a drunken sailor early in the morning. Do me hooray, do me hooray, do me hooray, up she rises early in the morning. So that's Drunken Sailor. Next up is it's a song where you're actually supposed to act out the parts, but I won't try to show them to you. Maybe if there's kids in the audience, their parents will know how to act it out. It's called The Unicorn. Long time ago when the earth was green, there were more kinds of animals than you've ever seen. They ran around free while the earth was being born, and the loveliest of all was the unicorn. There were green alligators and long-necked geese, humpty-backed camels and chimpanzees, cats and rats and elephants as sure as you're born. The loveliest of all was the unicorn. Well, the Lord saw some sinning and it caused him pain. He said, stand back, we're gonna make it rain. He said, hey brother Noah, I'll tell you what to do, build you a floating zoo. Get some green alligators and long-necked geese, humpty-backed camels and chimpanzees, cats and rats and elephants as sure as you're born. Don't you forget the unicorn. Noah was there to answer the call. He finished up the ark as the rain began to fall, and he marched in the animals 2 by 2. He called out as they went through. I got some green alligators and long-necked geese, humpty-backed camels and chimpanzees, cats and rats and elephants as sure as you're born, but I couldn't find a unicorn. So Noah looked out through the driving rain. Unicorns were laughing and playing silly games, laughing and playing while the rain was falling. Oh, them silly unicorns. He had green alligators and long-necked geese, humpty-backed camels and chimpanzees, would jump from the rocks and they cried. And the water came down and floated them away. So you won't see a unicorn today. You'll see green alligators and long-necked geese, monkey-back camels and chimpanzees, dancing with some elephants as sure as you're born. You're never gonna see a unicorn. Did you ever see a unicorn? Except in the movie Despicable Me, there's a unicorn. So, next song is a Peter, Paul, and Mary song by the name of Puff the Magic Dragon. A little story, a little backstory about this. It was written by Peter Yarrow's roommate at Cornell when they were in the literature department there. His name was Leonard Lipton. His inspiration for the song was a poem, or for the poem that he wrote actually, was another poem by Ogden Nash, and he borrowed Peter Yarrow's typewriter to type this up. So because he had Peter's typewriter, he was looking over his shoulder to kind of see what it was, and he remembered it. And many years later, he went back to Leonard and said, "Hey, would you mind if I take a shot at putting this to music? And if you do, I'll make you co-author, and if we make any money on it, I'll let you have the residuals." Well, it turns out he wrote a pretty good song, and Leonard Lipton is receiving residuals to this day. So, Puff the Magic Dragon. Puff the Magic Dragon lived by the sea, and he frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Holly. Little Jackie Paper, he loved that rascal Puff, brought him strings and sealing wax and other fancy stuff. Together they would travel on a boat with billowed sails. Jackie kept lookout perched on Puff's gigantic tail. Noble kings and princes would bow whene'er they came. Pirate ships would lower their flags when Puff roared out his name. Puff the Magic Dragon lived by the sea, and he frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Holly. Puff the Magic Dragon lived by the sea, and he frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Holly. Well, a dragon lives forever, but not so, little boys. Painted wings and giant rings give way to other toys. One gray night it happened, Jackie Paper came no more, and Puff, that mighty dragon, he ceased his fearless roar. Well, his head was bent in sorrow, green scales fell like rain. Puff no longer came to play along the cherry lane. Without his lifelong friend, Puff could not be brave. So Puff, that mighty dragon, slipped into his cave. Puff the Magic Dragon lived by the sea, and he frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Holly. Puff the Magic Dragon lived by the sea, and he frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Holly. So that's Puff the Magic Dragon. There's a little folklore going around that song was actually written about smoking marijuana, but both Leonard Lipton and Peter Yarrow deny it. Whatever that's worth. Okay, so the next song is called "A Marvelous Toy." I first heard this one done by Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Paul Stuckey does some amazing sound effects during that song, which I'm not going to try to duplicate. I also found that John Denver did the song one time on a Christmas album. It's called The Marvelous Toy. When I was just a wee little lad, full of health and joy, my father homeward came one night, gave to me a toy. A wonder to behold it was, with many colors bright, and the moment I laid eyes on it, it became my heart's delight. It went zip when it moved, and pop when it stopped, and whir when it stood still. Well, I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. The first time that I picked it up, I got a big surprise. It was right on the bottom, there were two green buttons, and they looked like big green eyes. I first pushed one, then the other, and then I lifted its lid. And when I set it down again, well, here's what it did. It went zip when it moved, and pop when it stopped, and whir when it stood still. Well, I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. It first marched left, then marched right, then marched under a chair. When I looked where it had gone, well, it wasn't even there. I started to cry, but my daddy laughed. He knew that I would find. When I turned around, that marvelous toy would be sneaking up on me from behind, going zip and bop and whir when it stood still. Neither one of us knows just what it is, and I guess we never will. The years have gone by quickly, it seems. Now I have my own little boy. Yesterday I gave to him that marvelous little toy. His eyes nearly popped right out of his head. He gave a squeal of glee. Well, neither one of us knows just what it is, but he loves it just like me. It still goes zip and bop and whir when it stands still. Well, neither one of us knows just what it is, and I guess I never will. Well, neither one of us knows just what it is, I guess we never will. So that's The Marvelous Toy. Closing song is, oh, by the way, happy birthday, Coast Guard. Today is their birthday. So I would mention that, right? Next song is a Donovan song. Yellow is the color of my true love's hair. In the morning when we rise, in the morning when we rise, that's the time, that's the time I love the best. Blue is the color of the sky. In the morning when we rise, in the morning when we rise, that's the time, that's the time I love the best. Green is the color of the sparkling corn. In the morning head when I see her. When I see her. That's the time. That's the time I love the best. Freedom is a word I rarely use without thinking. Without thinking. About the time. About the time when I was loved. Yellow is the color of my true love's hair. In the morning when we rise. In the morning when we rise. That's the time. That's the time I love the best. So that's Colors by Donovan. That'll do it for mini concert number 21.
You're not going to sing the Coast Guard song?
I'm not going to sing the Coast Guard song, no. I don't know the Coast Guard song. Next week is going to be mini concert number 22, live streaming to you, hopefully, from the Outer Banks of North Carolina, so hope to see you there.